Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Beruchim Abaim to everybody. Tizkul Shanim Rabot. Today, Tuesday, Erev Shebi'i Shel Pesach, 5th day of the Omer, 20th day of Nisan, the 11th day of April 2023. So as we are rapidly approaching in the next few hours, the final segment of the Yom Tov of Pesach, which according to many holy opinions, is the highlight of Pesach. Because even though we left Egypt a week ago, but we still have to deal with a couple of hiccups following us from Misraim all the way till the moment of Kiryat Yam Suf. Needless to say that I believe that the Kahal have heard me in the past discussing the powerful 24 to 48 hours that we are about to experience later on today, as the Gemara writes that there are two things additional besides the miracle of Yetziat Misraim that the Gemara connects it to the splitting of the Red Sea. One is the Parnassah of the person, and the other one is finding a suitable wife. And not only finding a suitable wife, making sure to keep her. To get married is easy. The secret is what happens the day after or the year after. True story, by the way. I told a couple not long ago, you're doing too much planning before the wedding. I will start planning what's going to be after the wedding. Say, what do you mean, Rabbi? Says, okay, I need to give you the heads up. You know, it's not everything an edge of roses as much as we want it to be, because there is an adjustment period when a person gets married. And that's why the Torah writes in Parashah Shofetim that a new groom, the first year of marriage, is exempt of joining the Jewish army. Why? He has a mission. Besimach et ishto. He needs to bring happiness to his wife. Now, yes, I'm going to save the comments. I'm not going to answer to some of the comments we just heard in Spanish because they are not conducive to goodness. The opposite are funny, but they are not really the message of Shebi'i Shel Pesach. So the question is, what makes it a not a happy marriage? Because today's class is not about happiness in marriage. You can search online on itorah.com, look for the word marriage, look for my name, and you'll have plenty of tools how to make your life a happy marriage. First rule of happy marriage, keep your mouth shut. That was what we learned the other day, remember? Kelal Rishon Pe Sagur. Rule number one in life. Pe Sagur. Rashi Tevot Karpas. Kelal Rishon. Rule number one. Pe Sagur. What did we learn yesterday? When I talk, you have to listen. Not only eat matzah. And jelly, and cream cheese, and macaroons, and chocolate cake, and marble cake. We mentioned about the Omer. Tenufa LaHashem. Tenu pe. Pe. The mouth. Pesach. Pesach. All about the mouth. You're lucky because you're learning this while you still are in high school. So you get to learn and grow accordingly. But the Gemara explains what happens when it comes to marriage and what happens when it comes to Parnassah. Do you think that is automatic that a person finds a wife? No. Do you think that is just automatic that somebody woke up today and decided to purchase merchandise from you and not from the competitor? And go to your web store in Amazon and not buying it from the other 7,400 sellers in Amazon that they offer the same product? But yet, Borei Olam, what does he do? Says the Zohar Kadosh, Mezaveg Zibugim. The Gemara tells us that it was a Roman emperor who asked one of the great Hachamim, what does God do after the creation of the world? The creation of the world took place. The world runs, according to him, in autopilot, so to speak, cruise control. So what do you do all day long? So the Gemara says, you know what God does? Mezaveg zivugim. He puts people together. He tries. Maybe this boy and this girl. Maybe this girl and this boy. And guess what? Do you think that automatically it works? Not at all. Because there is so much that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, but there is so much that a person also needs to do. That's why the concept of hishtadlut, the concept of making an effort, don't think for a moment that making an effort represents a lack of faith, a lack of emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The opposite. Making an effort is part of your emunah. The fact that you get the money in the bank account automatically, that's only when you retire or you're on welfare, God forbid. On a regular way of life, you need to get up, you need to do your effort. Obviously, the Peleo is right in the topic of Ishtadlut, that Ishtadlut cannot meaning to say making an effort. It's considered an acceptable venue of emunah in the life of the person as long that doesn't go against the will of God. In other words, don't tell me I'm going to pray at home so I can work more. That's a lack of emunah. You got to work, but you got to go pray. So allow me to share a couple of things in the Be'er HaChaim and others concerning difficulties of the life of the person. So it says here, Gemara Pesachim, the last chapter, that has a lot of information about Pesach, and it says there are three things which are very challenging in the life of the person: the livelihood of the person, Parnassah of the person, Zibugo shel Adam, Nekavav shel Adam, going to the restroom. Sometimes people get constipated, and sometimes people go too much. So what do we need to find? We need to find the middle of the road. Having too loose of a vowel movement is not good. Being constipated for more than a day or so is not good. By the second or third day, most of the third day, it becomes dangerous to the life of the person. Sakana nefashot. So comes the Rashbam, and it says the Rashbam was the commentator in Masechet Pesachim, perhaps after the passing of Rashi, who completed the pending chapters or pages of Talmud, and I believe he was a grandson of Rashi. And it says as follows: every year the person must pray for livelihood. Usually when we speak about praying for Parnassah, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? To me, Rosh Hashanah, Petihat Parnassah. And the Gemara in Batya says it. You may have heard this from Rabbi Moshe earlier today. The Gemara in Masechet Pesach, chapter 2. In the beginning of the second chapter, the Gemara writes, all the mezonot, all the substance of the person is predetermined from Rosh Hashanah till Rosh Hashanah. With exceptions, the Gemara writes. Rashi Tevot, Tishrei. Tav, Talmud Torah, tuition for your children. Shin of Shabbat. Resh of Rosh Chodesh. Yod of Yom Tov. So the Gemara is telling us that there are four things in life that don't go by the budget of the month, but go a bit more. Honoring the Shabbat, holidays, Rosh Chodesh, and the education of your children. Shei Mosif, Mosifim lo. The Gemara says, you went the extra mile. Everybody agrees that paying tuition is not simple. And as you grow in life, through your life, I remember when my kids went to elementary school, I used to pay per child, going back 30 years ago, or a bit less, 500 per child. Balash, look at the first word he says today. Balash, I want to switch your bill. Okay, today, that's called a welfare tuition. Thank God that today, Baruch Hashem, to large families, or families that qualify, and in the state of Florida, every child qualifies, that you get like a state voucher for $7,000 per child. This was approved by our governor, Shalita DeSantis, a few weeks ago, right? that approved this universal school choice for parents. So that's creating another incentive to the state of Florida to move, because you're getting this choice. Plus some qualify for McKay scholarship, right? And another one qualify for Step Up for Students. And there are all kinds of programs that helps the parents. But today, tuition, let's be honest here. How much is minimum tuition today on an average school? I don't know the prices up north. I know in Florida, could be anywhere between 18 to 26,000. I said in the state of Florida, I don't want to hear what you pay for your grandkids. It's not a census that I'm pulling at this moment. Sometimes I gotta come out strong, because otherwise I'm gonna get from the left. Oh, in Great Neck, in Brooklyn, in 5 towns, in Mill Basin, Hazako Baruch. I'm not asking this question. I'm only saying that the Gemara is telling you, is telling us, Borei Olam will take care of that. You know why? Because you are investing in the biggest commodity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shavuot is coming in literally 6 weeks plus from today, right? What was the key statement that activated the holiday of Shavuot? Banenu arevim ba'adenu. Our children are our future. So if we don't invest in them, so when you invest on a Jewish child, you are basically investing in an IPO. And this is your own IPO. This is your own child. Because if we don't guarantee to our own children a good Torah education and academic education, I'm not saying Torah only, but you got to give them both tools in order for them to grow and to prosper and to become successful members of society. Where is the continuity, A, of the community come from? Where the continuity of our family will come from? And obviously, the continuity of Am Israel. That's why I heard one rabbi who mentioned this many years back in one of the lectures here, and it says, if you want the education of your children in school should be successful, pay tuition with happiness and without complaining. Because if you complain about the pay of tuition, that complaining that you are uttering, it influences the neshama of the learning of your child. Heavy. And it makes sense. It's like we mentioned in the past. Let me do the talking. Stand شوية. It's like I said in the past. If you come home from the synagogue and your wife or your mother asks you, how was the synagogue? How was the knis? And you start saying, the rabbi talked too much. The Hazan thought that was giving a performance. The Gabbai thought that today is Simchat Torah. The Kiddush was nothing special. And every sentence you are adding a but or a negative connotation, what do you think your child is going to think about the synagogue? About the knis? Where should I go? But if you come home and you say, oh, the rabbi spoke very nicely, the tefillot were beautiful, Kiddush was unbelievable, everybody was so happy, I saw all the programs, etc. What do you think your kid is going to say? Oh, I want to go. If my father is having such a good time, I want to be part of that good time. So the same concept is applicable to the concept of Hinuch. So it says the Be'er HaChaim, quoting the Bnei Issachar, and it says as follows, that in Yom Tov, there is a difference between Yom Tov and Shabbat. What's the difference? That on Shabbat, you cannot cook, correct? Everything must be set up before. That's the reason why we don't need to do Eruv this holiday. Why? There is no Shabbat involved. The first half of Pesach, we went into the Shabbat. But now that we have no Shabbat, we have Eruv, Mechila, we have Yom Tov. Thursday night, the holiday is over. You're going to go crazy for Hames on Thursday night, which I personally don't. I don't go crazy about the Hames. I hang around with the matzah one more night. We go on a date one more night. And then Friday, I start with the Hames later on. Hopefully, we'll have Hames breakfast on a Friday. I don't know yet. Because I'm not sure if I'm able to buy Hames today for Yom Tov, for Motzai. But I think all the order was made in advance. So if the Hametz doesn't arrive Friday morning for breakfast, so we'll have matzah. What's the problem? That's it. That's it. Not a big deal. One more day of matzah. Matzah is good in many areas, obviously. So on Shabbat, I'm saying this because of the following statement. On Yom Tov, you're allowed to cook. You're allowed to do certain labors on the holiday that on Shabbat they are not permissible. They are called, how the Pasuk calls them, Ach asher yachel lechol nefesh, hu levado ya'aseh lachem. The food for your soul, you are allowed to do. So it says the Bnei Issachar. What does the meaning of this concept of asher yachel lechol nefesh? It says Parnassah and marriage. Because usually, what do we say? On Shabbat, you don't pray for livelihood. So how come in Shevei Shel Pesach I'm allowed to do? Because Shevei Shel Pesach is the day to pray for livelihood. Don't go to God with your monthly budget. God doesn't need your monthly budget. It's not Bank of America, monthly budget. You say, Borei Olam, open for me the fountains of blessing. Open for me the gates of Parnassah. And Kiryat Yamsuf is the same way. We didn't speak too much about Kiryat Yamsuf. But what was the miracle of the splitting of the Red Sea, of the Yamsuf? That the water went against its own nature. Water, look behind the fence, you see the water always calm, steady. Water gravitates towards the bottom. Even when the water, sometimes you see the water fountain, you see that climbs a couple of inches or a feet or two, and then it comes down. Because that's the gravity, the way God created the nature of the water. But what happened in the day of Shevei Shel Pesach? The water altered its nature. From flat, from horizontal, became vertical. From muddy, from dark, became clear. From salty, became sweet. From almost non-transparent, became see-through. Those are only some of the miracles. If you look in the Haggadah of Pesach, there was 3 opinions how many miracles took place in Kiryat Yamsuf, which, by the way, according to all opinions, the miracles of the Yamsuf splitting was greater than all of the Makot in Egypt put together. So we're not talking about a simple miracle. We're not talking about the 10 Commandments movie, Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. Alav Shalom. You remember them? Okay, you know about Spider-Man. That's what you know probably. Okay, maybe Mathaf. They were nice people who did a Hollywood style of the splitting of the Yamsuf, which wasn't appropriate according to the Torah, because according to Rabbeinu Ari, the splitting had many parts, but they didn't have special effects like they have today. So they did one in the middle of the water. Okay, but it gives you an idea, more or less, what exactly transpired. Now, alav shalom. Okay, so it says as follows. On this day, says the Bnei Issachar, is a day that a person can experience the breaking of their own difficulties in their life. What does it mean? Kiryat Yamsuf. Okay, we say in the Hallel. Okay, Mina Metzar Karatiyah, Anani Bamerhabiyah. Mina Mesar. Our rabbis tell us that Mesar comes from is the root word of the word Misraim. Misraim, Metzar. Mitzrayim, Metzarim. Meaning to say, even though Egypt, we loosely translate the word Misraim as Egypt, but guess what? Misraim doesn't mean necessarily only Egypt, the nation. But Misraim or Mesarim represents every setback or hiccup that a person has in their life. At any level. Physical, emotional, family, financial, health-wise, spiritual-wise, whatever hiccup you have in your life. That is Yesiyat Misraim. So it says the Bnei Issachar and others that the power of Shebi'i Shel Pesach is that we're not only breaking the barriers of the exodus of Egypt, is that the person can also experience their own salvation. Why, you think that I don't have matters that I need to solve? You don't have matters that you need to solve. You don't have matters that you need to solve. If you are human, you have issues. Not in a negative way, but there are hiccups in life. And guess what? It's part of life. It's part of life. You know, you think marriage every day is a honeymoon period. Ask the boys around the room. Ask anybody in the room. Our goal is, Be'ezat Hashem, to make the best that we can every day. But we know that some days will be better than others. And some situation may trigger certain reactions or certain matters that makes the situation a bit challenging. But yet, it says that in the night of the Shevi'i Shel Pesach, get rid of all the drama in your life. Easier than going to a therapist. Sometimes therapists help. Sometimes speaking to a professional that can help you overcome certain scenarios or certain situations can give the person a hand of coming out of the hole. But if you want direct godly connection and a lifeline, the way we say in English, all of the above say the day of Shebi'i Shel Pesach, even if the person may not be worthy. Because when it came to the splitting of the Red Sea and the miracles, they did not selected who will be saved or not. You were part of a group, you were part of Am Israel, automatically you got an additional lifeline. And the same concept is when it comes to the concept of Shidduchim. And according to some opinions, it says that there is a segula throughout the day of Shebi'i Shel Pesach to read the entire book of Tehillim, to open the gates of heaven, to open the gates of Parnassah, healing, because Kiryat Yamsuf, at the end of the Kiryat Yamsuf, the Pasuk writes, Kol ha'mahala asher santi b'Misraim lo asim alecha, ki ani Hashem rofe'echa. If you look at the splitting of the Red Sea, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips now in advance, okay? If you have a chance, go ahead and participate. If you can get the aliyah of the Shira, do it. Is the Mashlim Chobat Hayom of tomorrow. Or maybe in some synagogues the rabbi goes up. Okay, usually the rabbi, but people chip in to have a partnership, right? That's one aliyah to get. Also, yes, usually yes. Thank you. Hazaku Baruch. Thank you. Also, the last aliyah of Pesach talks about happiness, talks about blessings, talks about all goodness in life. These are two major aliyot when it comes to the holiday. But how does the reading of tomorrow will conclude? The Pasuk writes, Kol ha'mahala, all the illness that I place upon the Egyptians will not place upon you, because I'm Hashem, your healer. Okay, Hashem rofe'echa. Also, this aliyah talks about reversing bitterness into sweetness. A lot of blessing comes with this particular aliyah. So it says, even if the person may not be spiritually worth it, definitely there is a zechut of the day of Shebi'i Shel Pesach. Additionally, just one moment, let me see something. Just 1 second. I'm in the singing mood because of the concert last night. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to save this for some other time. But, the Jewish world has a tradition. I'm only saying what we do here. What we do elsewhere, It's your decision. Many of us, Be'ezat Hashem, will come tomorrow morning at around, God willing, 3:30 in the morning. We do the tikkun. There is a tikkun for Shevi'i Shel Pesach. Very short. That's why it starts late. It's a 2-hour tikkun. It's not mandatory. It is suggested. It is optional. And at 5:48, we go out and we read the Shira. Because the Shira of Misraim took place by dawn. Some people, smart, they said, Rabbi, 5:48 is Miami time. You got to do it Israel time. So Israel time will be like 11:30 at night. So 11:30, open the Chumash, read the Shira, and then go to sleep. Make sure to come to the 8:30 minyan. We're not canceling all the other minyanim. All the other minyanim will remain alive and well. But if you want to have an experience of reading all the songs of the Tanakh, Be'ezat Hashem, tomorrow, 3:30 to 5:30, and Be'ezat Hashem, Hashem should give us the strength, and may the holiday alarm clock rings, so we are able to make it in a timely manner. There are no guarantees. I think that it's a very difficult wake up, because it's literally in the middle of the night. But, you know what? I always, before I go to sleep, I make my personal prayer discussing the concept of waking up in the morning. I said, God, tomorrow morning I need to wake up early. Doesn't matter what time I went to sleep. It matters what time I'm going to wake up. What time we came home last night from the concert? 12 and change. We were mahmir. We stayed till the end. And we got there on time. Chas v'shalom. You're not going to miss the first song. Okay? Anyways, one more. The great Jose Milublin, quoting by the Nahar Shalom and the Hida Kadosh, and it says, in the Shira, the concept of saying it with happiness. And it says, as Yashir Moshe, as, then, as, Yashir will sing. In the Hebrew verb, shar means sang, past. Yashir will sing. From here we learn Tahiyat HaMetim from the Torah. As Yashir Moshe, then Moshe will sing. That's the source from the Torah of Tahiyat HaMetim. But it says, what's the meaning of as? It says as, Aleph Zayin. Aleph Zayin. Okay, what's Aleph Zayin? Means Sunday and Shabbat? So it says, no. The two times that we read the Shira. Number one, in Parnassah Bayishlach, and the second time around, Beshalach rather, I'm sorry, and the second time around on the 7, which is Shevi'i Shel Pesach. Those are the two times that the Sefer Torah has the reading of the Shira. And therefore it says, year after year, in Parnassah Beshalach and Shevi'i Shel Pesach, the miracle of that miracle reactivates itself every year, generation after generation. And it says, what happens on that moment? It says, Moshe Rabbeinu and his entourage comes out from the highest levels of Gan Eden, showering the Jewish people with the blessings that HaKadosh Baruch Hu distributed in bulk for the happiness of Am Israel. Why? The question is. It says the Bet Aharon, because in the Shira, and I have this in my cell phone, I have the Kabbalistic version of the Shira. I'm not going to share it with anybody, not even for myself. It's in hiding. But I saw it earlier today. Every sentence, just to give you a free sample, every sentence of the Shira, with the combination of the letters in the beginning and at the end, they have like a hidden code of a Kabbalistic name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu revelation in the world. What does it contain? Ma shehaya, the past, u'ma she'atid lihiyot, and the future, bechol ha'geulot, and all the salvations and any solution to all the troubles that the person has in life. And the Hida says it. If you look in some Sidurim, I believe they quote the Hida that says, a person who says the Shira with kavanah and happiness, Borei Olam erases all the headaches from the life. And it says that a person takes advantage on this particular day of Shebi'i Shel Pesach, don't just mumble the words, that's what it says here, just to fulfill your lip obligation, but actually say the Shira nicely and slowly. In the Syrian world, there is a tradition when it comes to the Pesukim of the Shira. If you pay attention to the Baal Koreh, right? There are certain ends, teretame. We do a double length soft pasuk, yani. Ashir lamunai ki ga'oga sus benochebo Ramma bayam na 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 Baromimenu. This elongated tune is telling me, I'm in the audience, that this pasuk is not basic, special. And therefore it says, take advantage of this particular day, because the day of the Shira is not only a day of the lip singing, but actually the day of the heart, the day of Rahamana, Liba, Ba'e, Borei Olam wants that particular day. Let me see if there is one more thing to add to the benefit of the Kahal. I'm just looking quickly. We spoke about livelihood. We spoke about marriage. Okay, we spoke about marriage. We spoke about physical well-being. So I think that these are three basic concepts benefiting the day of Shevi'i Shel Pesach. One of the things that he adds here, it says, in the name of the Noam Elimelech, that if there is one area in life, in the night and day of Shevi'i Shel Pesach, and it says the topic of Emunah. What's the meaning of the topic of Emunah? Vayaminu ba'Hashem u'Moshe abdo. So we have Tehiyat HaMetim in Az Yashir, and before that, Emunah. Beautiful. And it says, in the night of Shevi'i Shel Pesach, take advantage of that night and take advantage of the morning Shaharit prayers, because a distribution of Emunah and a distribution of salvation is being given to everyone that is willing to receive. Imagine yourself, if I say in the night of Pesach, Kahal Kadosh, I have 500 Haggadot to give out for free. How many you think I'm going to have available in less than half an hour? Zero. Or I have Masah Shemurah for free. At least 3 matzot. People are going to take. Why? Because it's available and it's free. That's what the Noam Elimelech says. Says, don't stand on the sidelines. Borei Olam has a bonus to give you. Imagine your teacher, right, in school, sees how diligent you are in your, which I believe in that, by the way. I believe in that incentive. If you do great in the school year and all the exams, you skip it final. Isn't that nice? Say yes. They don't do it. They do it. I'm happy to hear that. Okay? It's an incentive. Okay? So it says here, don't miss the opportunity, because when a Kadosh Baruch Hu is in a giving mode, whatever he gives will only bring goodness to the person. Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all the powers of the tefillot. I mean, there is more things to say. This is only just I'm giving you the highlights of what I have here, but I think that the message is beautiful. Take advantage of the next 24 or 48 hours. I will say the following. Even though we pay a lot of attention to the 7th day of Pesach, I will say that the 8th day of Pesach, known in Halacha as the Haron Shel Pesach, it also carry a great level of Kedusha. Aharon, Haviv. We have the last day. We have, there was a great rabbi who had a desire to move to Israel. He had the great desire to move to Israel. Okay, beautiful. Hazako Baruch. Sooner or later, we are going to go to Israel. Okay? But he was stalling the trip to Israel to move. And one of the students asked, Hacham, you're talking so much about moving to Israel, and you are saying that you're planning, but how long does it take you to plan? Go. It says, if I'm going to go to Israel, I need to be ready, he says, to lose my second day of Yom Tov. Because when you're in Israel, you miss one step of the Seder, wait till next year. You miss the night of Shavuot, wait till next year. You miss Shevi'ei Shel Pesach, wait till next year. Obviously, I'm saying what the great rabbi said. You need to make also a shikul da'at. You need to make an intelligent halachic balance and spiritual balance to determine to make that move. But what I'm trying to say is, don't minimize the zechut that we have. Maybe this is now the Yetzer Hara talking, staying in Galut. Okay, but the bottom line is that we are what we are. Correct? I remember one time I read in a Sefer. I'm trying to remember the name of the Sefer, but I do remember the Sefer. I have it at home, blue cover, I think. That it says that when the right time for the neshama comes to make the decision to move to Israel, you will feel it. You can talk about it. You can talk about it. People talk about it all day long, especially how things are going in America. Not that Israel is better, but at least you're at home. Here with anti-Semitism and everything that's going on, God forbid, all over, it's not simple. What's happening is not simple. But it says each person gets its own personalized message. Somebody, when I was in Israel the other day, says, true story, you the guy from the class, from I Torah. I said, yeah, I'm one of the rabbis. No. You the funny guy from Miami, right? I said, yeah. I said, what are you doing in Miami? I said, what are you doing in Miami? I need you here. He said, what do you mean I need you? I'm leaving tomorrow. He says, no. Give me your wife's number. He says, you don't leave Israel. He says, I need you in Israel. I said, okay, well, I need you. Give me your name and number. I give you to the WhatsApp list. He says, no, we need people from outside of Israel to come and to deal with Israel, with the masses. I said, at the right time, you may see me. At this moment, we are whenever we are to be. But it get me thinking, what's happening in Eretz Israel. So the bottom line, let's take advantage of the 48 hours starting in a few hours. Be'ezat Hashem, wherever you may be, Pesach Kasher B'Sameach. Let me give you just a couple of halachic reminders for the holiday. Obviously, for today, remember, to light a pre-existing flame before Yom Tov. So this way, if the wife lights after sunset or tomorrow evening, you have a pre-existing fire. Give or take closer to 8:45, 9 o'clock, depends on where you are. The Hamas will be bought through the power of the Bedin from the Gentile, and by that time, all Hamas can be open at home. Look at the beautiful tape we got from Brooklyn. Sol Hamas do not open. Nice, just to remember. So another Thursday night, the cleaning crew will open. The same thing will happen, I'm sure, to our homes. And remember that there is no obligation to go crazy on Thursday night to buy Hamas. You didn't have to buy the first bag of pita or the first bagel or the pizza. Although in Miami they have a good shtick in the night of Motzei Pesach that the first pizza, it gets auctioned and the money goes to Hatzalah, South Florida. Beautiful. Last year I don't know how much it got, 17,000, 18,000. The previous year was 9,200. But okay, L'Shem Shamayim, it's funny. You see people going crazy, but today there's so many stores today, so I'm not even sure. Be'ezat Hashem, we are going to be sending to the Kahal, at least via email, a list of all of the establishments that a person is allowed to buy after Pesach. Just to say this publicly, most 98% Walgreens, CVS, Whole Foods, Target, Publix, Winn-Dixie, which are the most common supermarkets in our neighborhood, you're allowed to buy immediately after Pesach without any halachic fear whatsoever. All the establishments which are under Kosher Miami, which is the main here in Miami, and ORB in Broward County, all the establishments, the Hametz was sold by the Bedin of each group, and it will be purchased back or resold on Motzei Yom Tov, so you didn't have to worry about it. The only area that you need to pay close attention to, it will be stores which we know that the owner is Jewish, right? But we don't know if the Hametz was sold by the Jewish owner. Let's say you have a secular Jew that owns an Israeli grocery store, and that is not under supervision. You need to find out if they sold the Hametz. Many years back, I remember that there was a tiny store that the fellow didn't know much, and for 30 days we couldn't buy anything from there, but Baruch Hashem, he learned, and already year after year, he sold. He's no longer in business, so don't ask me what the story is today. But most of the kosher groceries in Miami do have a supervision, so the supervision makes sure that the Hametz. The only area that I cannot give you an answer is Amazon. Amazon. Why? Because there are many food sellers in Amazon that they are Jewish. If the seller is a person that understands Shomer Shabbat, I did have a couple of questions about Hametz and Amazon before Pesach. This every year comes without fail. Okay? But if you know and you ask them, did you sell the Hametz? And they put a notice on the website, Hametz sold according to Jewish law, so then you have no issue. But if you don't know, try to do some research, and if you need help, let me know, and I speak somebody in the back end to see if they can do a research if the company is a Jewish-owned company. Many times Amazon themselves is the buyer, and they are goyim, so there is no issue whatsoever. But I'm only creating this because the list that's going to come out from the KM is going to say that you need to research on that. But other than that, all the basic supermarkets that we usually utilize and kosher establishments, immediately as soon as Pesach is over, you're allowed to buy without any fear whatsoever. One more thing is that in the desperation, and I will say this again, that Motzei Yom Tov is already Erev Shabbat, try to be careful with the dishes. The dishes. The kelim, because you have the kelim of Pesach. So boys, roll up your sleeves, Motzei Yom Tov. I'm sure you do with your sisters. Put everything away. I know what I need to do Motzei Yom Tov already. And as I said before, for me, Hametz is not a welcome visitor until Friday morning. Friday morning comes, we'll deal with it accordingly. Nish geferlach, as they say. You know, we survive a whole week without Hametz, so we can survive overnight. I'd rather help at home and help the wife and the family putting away all the stuff. So this way, when Friday morning comes, we bring out the Hametz, we open the closets and everything else accordingly. And I wish everybody a תזכו לשנים רבות, מועדים לשמחה, and may Hashem answer all your prayers together with the prayers of עם ישראל, אמן. ברוך אדוני לעולם, אמן ואמן. רבי חניניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך. My recorder did not record. רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך. The video did. ירבה להם תורה מצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפש למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה וידיר. אמן. אמן.